everyone, Sierra Waters here with another episode of Too Beautiful to Be Broken. If anyone wants to reach me, please email me at cr.waters@aol.com or leave me a message at 951-208-4709. I will respond to any messages you guys leave for me. If you're in a situation right now that you need help, please make sure that you're in a safe place and then contact somebody for help, a pastor, a friend, a family member, or you can always reach out to me. So I'm going to open today's podcast with a poem that I've opened with before that I think is very fitting for right now. She made broken look beautiful and strong look invincible. She walked with a universe on her shoulders and made it look like a pair of wings. So the last couple of weeks we've been talking about bullying and suicide, and this week I want to build on that. Today I have the pleasure of being able to interview a very special young lady. Her name is Lacy. I've known her for a very, very long time. She's an amazing, strong woman, beyond belief, resilient, beautiful inside and out. And she's going to talk to you guys today about her experience with sex trafficking. I'm not going to say any more because when we get to her, I'm going to let her tell you her story. It's very powerful. Before she starts, though, I want to define what sex trafficking is so everybody understands what we're talking about. It involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act. And every year, there's millions of women and children and even men that are forced into trafficking. And everybody, when they look at it, they think that this is in a different country, in a different world, and they don't realize that it's happening right here in our backyards. You know, this is something that crosses age lines, race lines, gender lines, sexual orientation, nationality. There's no line that it doesn't cross. And these people use so many different tactics to get people into this. You know, manipulation, false promises of making money, finding true love. You know, they reach out to girls and women and lure them in with, you know, promises of you know, I'm the best thing you'll ever find. I'm, you know, all the things that these girls have been missing. And if it comes down to it, they use violence. The reason that I'm talking about this today is because I want to build on what I said last week about getting a program into our elementary schools to get our little guys and girls on a better path towards compassion and empathy and feeling good about themselves so that these kind of things are less likely to happen. Because right now at the rate we're going, it's going to multiply and continue at an even crazier rate. It's almost at a pandemic level right now. Now, almost every year in our country or in our world, over 40 million people are forced into the sex trafficking world. Some of these kids are as young as 9 and 10. Even though that the most common ages are between 12 and 16. And we think that you know, this is, oh, it won't happen to me, it's not in my world. But it is. It's right in our own neighborhoods. You know, they start by finding these girls on social networks, social media, in their own neighborhoods, clubs, the internet. They even go into the schools and find them. And kids that are in foster care are more vulnerable. Kids that are runaways or homeless kids are more vulnerable. In 2017, the Federal Human Trafficking Report found that out of the 661 active cases of sex trafficking, 65% of those cases involved a child. And I'm sure that there are hundreds of thousands more victims out there that no one even knows about. This doesn't even involve traveling. These guys are angels right in our own backyards, right underneath our noses. And they don't even have to take them anywhere to put them into this industry. It's right underneath our noses and we don't even know it because they threaten them and they hurt them to make them feel like they don't have to, you know, that they can't go anywhere. In 2018, of the 5,147 human sex trafficking cases that were reported, there was not one state excluded. So this is all over our country. And the scariest part of it is that so many times, even if the buyers are caught or the pimps are caught, it's not them that are prosecuted. It's the girls. The girls are taken into custody and prostituted prosecuted for prostitution. It makes no sense. These are little girls that are being forced into this, and we're punishing them. This whole thing to me makes zero sense. And I've listened to Lacy's story, and every time I listen to it, it touches me more and more. So I'm going to let her tell you guys what happened to her and what her thoughts are on anything that we can do to change this and make this stop. Lacy?
Well, thanks for having me. Well, a little about myself. I have volunteered and worked with many nonprofits since me being rescued from trafficking to kind of help change the laws so that girls aren't being prosecuted. I was lucky enough that I was seen in the eyes of a court as a victim as opposed to a criminal record, and a lot of times girls that are charged with prostitution have to register as sex offenders. So at a young age, their future is ruined for the rest of their lives.
That blows my mind.
Yeah, over what someone else did to them and made them do. And it's sad, and I've met a few women now, they're women, that have no life, no future. They can't live in certain areas and have certain jobs, all because what was done to them as a child. And now they're felons and sex offenders.
These are little babies when it started out. These are little children. These are our daughters.
Yeah.
And oh my God, that blows my mind.
It is. It's really bad. And some states have passed that they're not going to be prosecuted if they're under the age of 16. Some have made it under the age of 18, even though federally is illegal age of consent. Still haven't moved to 18. I think there's still about 3 states that's 16, and the state I was in included. When I was rescued, it was 16. So we're trying to get that moved up to 18 all throughout America. Because really, no child grows up and says that that's what they want to do with their life, and a little into it, and they're manipulated, and it changes their whole mindset. With me, I was taken into trafficking when I was 14, and I was abducted for 18 months before I was found. And even then, being found was a terrifying experience for me, just because of the lack of knowledge in law enforcement and their sensitivity training. I was called names by the officers. I was really treated as a criminal as opposed to how a victim should. So that was my first task, was to change how they treated these girls, because you can't trust your law enforcement to treat you like a human and a victim that you are. Then they're never going to come and ask for help, which is what I never did.
Well, I'm sure they put enough fear in you that you would never. I mean, why would you?
Yeah, my trafficker did that many times. It made me scared to be home, so when I was found and taken home, I would run again, just because of the fear that the threats towards my family and things like that. And also the punishment for being found, there was a punishment for that as well, so it was lots of physical violence, as well as manipulation, as in not believing that my family could accept me, that I could never go home and be the same, and my family wouldn't love me again. So there was that, and I mean, to this day, and this has been about 9 years now, I still have those little thoughts in the back of my head. It never goes away. I still deal with the trauma every day. It's not like the physical, real trauma anymore. Now it's just mental, and the memories and the post-traumatic stress. And that's going to be my next goal, is getting services for these women, because they don't have services. I never had services. It's not something they offer. They offer the criminals who did this to the girls more services than they do the victims.
That makes no sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense at all. You're not looked at as a legitimate reason for the government to step in and give you services. I mean, counseling alone for me, I can't afford it, and I rarely do it because, I mean, you're looking at about $250 an hour just to have some type of psychological help. I've applied for disability for my post-traumatic stress and got denied because we don't see it as a legitimate diagnosis.
What blows my mind about that whole thing the most, Lacy, is that our little girls are forced into this. I mean, you were forced into this. How old were you again?
14.
So at 14, you were forced into this, and and the age of consent was 16, and you can't even buy a pack of cigarettes at 16, but you can consent to sex. So they go ahead and let these people take you and put you into trafficking, and then you get out after you've been used and abused for years, and they offer you no services to help you figure out how to get through it and live a productive life. Our society is so backwards right now.
Yeah. And, I mean, if it wasn't for very few amazing people in my life, the founder of Shared Hope International, Linda Smith, and Melissa Snow, and Kay Vale, and just lots of people, Kelly Russell, coming together as these strong women who may have never physically been in a situation I had been, but not to tell me, that I'm like this victim and things like that. They never used victim around me. They used survivor.
Exactly.
They used overcomer. They helped me rebuild a confidence that I was lacking. And what my trafficker preyed on was a confidence in myself that I didn't have. And they helped me rebuild that. So I kind of took on that phrase of overcomer and
survivor.
Had to sit down and look like not only did I survive, but I overcame. There's two different ways that's a whole different thing to survive than to overcome. So I survived.
Those are both very powerful statements.
Yeah. Surviving was me getting through what I did, and overcoming was being the mother I am today, and appealing to the House of Representatives to try to make changes. That was
your strength is an inspiration, I must tell you. And real quickly, who she's talking about for Shared Hope International is Linda Smith. She is a former congresswoman for the state of Washington, and she helped Lacy go before the House of Representatives to see if they could get better laws passed regarding sex trafficking. So she's played a really big role in trying to change some of these laws to help other survivors and overcomers of this same thing.
Yeah.
So, and I know that parents need to get more involved. I know that part of what got you back and out of this was the fact that your mother never gave up and that she loved you so much. But what was going on at home, you weren't being abused, but your mom was working and your dad was deployed, and so you had an in-home life that left you a lot to find, growing up issues, dealing with those on your own.
Yes. I come from a big family. I have 5 brothers and sisters.
Mercy.
And dealing with that, and my mom's always working. She worked in the ER, so her hours were quite crazy. There'd be times that she wasn't home for 2 days because she got snowed in, and at the hospital, people can't get in, you can't leave. So a lot of that was just me and my siblings in the house, and I had to take over that role of being the responsible older sister. And that kind of left me with a missing, I don't want to say missing childhood, because I had a great childhood. It was a missing key point in my life where I was developing who I am, and developing confidence. I was instead more focused on my siblings and didn't really have that time to look at myself and evaluate myself like most kids should. And going through and meeting my trafficker showed me a lot of things about myself that I didn't notice, which then in turn was that manipulation, that game that they play with your mind. With, oh, well, he gave me the pretty I see in myself, and he gave me this, and he gave me that, and then in turn you feel kind of indebted to them, emotionally and psychologically, because they boost your confidence just enough, I guess I should say, to where you're still lacking confidence, but you have to seek them for it,
right,
to build that confidence back up, and then they break it down. It's like a cycle. So,
well, the sad part about it is you're just the perfect amount of broken. Like you've been through just enough. So, and these people, man, I don't know whether there's like some kind of school out there that teaches these creeps, how to look for this stuff. But it's like they know how to walk and see and pick out the girls or even the boys for that matter that have just the perfect amount of broken where they can get them and they can give them enough just to reel them in and then keep them coming. And because I went through that with some of what I went through, not sex trafficking, but in a volatile relationship, and they bring you in and they build you up, but they make you feel like you're only beautiful to them, and they like you were just saying, they can give you that, and then they just keep breaking you down till pretty soon, before you even realize it, there's none of your self-esteem left.
Right. And you have to keep feeding on them for your self-esteem. They're literally just predators. I mean, like how a lion hunts for its food, that's the same thing they do. They pick out the weakest link and they go after it.
Yeah, there's just, there's so much evil in this world, and it blows my mind, how, and little girls as young as 9, that's just, it makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about it. I honestly, 14 is horrible, but, as young as 9 yet is just, these are just babies.
Yeah.
You were just a baby. You were 14.
Yeah, and I honestly thought my situation pretty bad until I started doing public speaking engagements and, with my book and my documentary. And I had a small girl just run up to me as I was coming down from an international conference from the stage, and she just hugged me and sobbed, and she was no taller than my belly. And, I looked at her and I was just like kind of confused, and the security was going to move her, and I just let her cry, and then she just looked up at me and said that I was her hero. And I had a talk with her social worker who was there, who she begged to come. She was clutching my book in her hand, and she was 10, 11, I believe.
Oh my God.
Very, very shockingly young, but her parents actually were the ones that were trafficking her for their drugs. And, that little girl's face stays in my mind all the time. So when I think my situation was bad, I just remember her face, and the reason why I fight the way I fight is there's people that had a way worse situation than I did and did not come out of it as best as I could. That little girl barely talked, and she just wanted to have lunch with me, so I had lunch with her, and she just talked away. And the social worker was just amazed by her speaking, because she rarely did, and that was due to so much trauma she'd lived through her whole life with her parents.
Well, she found something in you that made her feel like if anybody else in the world understood it, it was you.
I don't, and that was the thing, is I don't understand.
Well, but you understood where her heart and her mind were, because you'd been through it too.
Yeah. Yes, but her, just that deep pain that she felt was, I feel, is a lot worse, and that's not the first case. Me working in group homes, where parents are the ones trafficking their children. That to me is a much further trauma. My mother and my father would never do something like that to me, and it's just sad to see that thing that held me together was my love for my parents. They can't receive that in their healing process. Um, that's a different trauma that they have to go through and overcome. And they're my main reason for fighting with girls like that.
So now, okay, so explain to me, they talked to you and, they were able to get you into that world. And then from that place, they just take you and just use you within that industry, but right within your own backyard. I mean, I know that people think that they take you away and almost to a different country, but you were relatively close to home.
Yep. I met my trafficker. A 10-minute walk from my house to Safeway. I went to Safeway almost every day to go get Starbucks and pick up some groceries, whether it was cereal or milk for my mom if she was tired. And that's where I met my trafficker, and I would have little conversations over coffee and then go about my day. Well, technically, he was a scout for the trafficker. They have some stables have different operations, and by stable I mean it's a stable is a collection of girls that a trafficker has obtained and uses for trafficking. And this particular stable that I was in they had a scout, which was around the same age as the girls that you seek out. Very charming, and you see your face because he's being around your age. He goes to a school nearby, that kind of stuff. And then, you're not really safe because he's just leading you to his boss, which is the actual trafficker.
Wow. And being in one of these stables, they make all of you guys get tattoos, don't they?
Yes.
I heard that somewhere from somebody. I don't even know who I heard that from, but that way, because it's basically letting you know that you're property of somebody.
Mm-hmm. My trafficker particularly had a barcode on the back of every girl's neck with his birthday mixed in the numbers. Mine was different. I can't really talk about my tattoo much.
I understand that.
But the symbols of the traffickers is how the pimps recognize other girls in case they run. They can spot out their girl, and there's times that I've escaped and got taken by another pimp and returned back to mine. That's just how they keep an eye out for each other. They work together. So, no matter where you are, and even if your pimp isn't nearby, that somebody's watching you. And it could be another girl from the stable as well, what they call their bottom bitch. It could be one of those girls watching you, and you don't know who she is. You just think she's another girl, and she runs back to her pimp and tells her pimp that you talked about escaping, or you called a family member, that kind of stuff. And then, you're punished for that. So.
That whole life is just, to me, it just seems unreal because you're property of somebody, and, you're a human being, you're a life, you're a young lady, you're a child, you deserve the very best in the world, and you're being treated as somebody's property.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes back to what I was saying in last week's podcast, that, we got to make sure that we get in here and get these girls, and boys as well, the basics, the platform to start with, of, empathy and compassion and build them up so they know that, that what their worth is, so that nobody else has to come in and try to rescue them and save the day and show them, their worth according to them,
Yeah. And confidence is definitely key. what a predator can't prey on is weakness, and if your child is confident and knows their voice and knows who they are because that's instilled by you, the parent, then it's going to be very hard for someone to prey on your kids. Like my son, I instill a world of kindness and love and confidence into him. He, one, is a terrible athlete, but I instill it. He can still do it. You know, he just got to try harder. Not much of a dancer either, but he thinks he's got some moves. So I encourage that, and I just keep encouraging him to be who he is. And if he has an opinion about something, I let him voice it. I never take away his voice. Because one thing about it is these traffickers are adults most of the time, and if your child feels like they can't voice their opinion to an adult, whether it's, you know, always respectfully, but then they're going to feel as if they don't have a say in what the adult says to do.
Exactly.
So if you teach your child right from wrong and to always voice it, even though sometimes it's a little annoying when they correct you when you're wrong.
Exactly.
That, you know, no matter where he goes, he's going to be able to recognize that this is wrong and I'm going to speak up about it, and I'm going to tell my mom because I feel safe with her.
Exactly.
And she loves me no matter what, and she will always have my back, whether it's good or bad. So he'll come to me and tell me things that kids are saying or doing, and that's great because I want to know what's going on in his classroom. He's in kindergarten. I want to know what kids are saying and how they're behaving when the teacher steps out of the room for a second, and that way I know that we have this trust. So he's not in trouble if he tells me, hey, Mom, I was mean to a kid today. I took a toy. Okay, well, let's change that next time. Let's share. That kind of stuff. So he knows no matter what it is, I'm never going to stop loving him for it. Now, there's always consequences, and we have that level of respect and trust and responsibility with each other. And, you know, even be careful if I say a bad word as well. So it's having that connection and, you know, just really paying attention and being involved with your kids that can stop a load of hurt for them.
Well, I mean, we've lost so much of that in our society today, and I 100% agree with you. You know, with my kids growing up, it was always, you can tell me or talk to me about anything. You can even tell me when I'm wrong as long as you do it respectfully. You know, don't get in my face and scream at me, but, you know, you can tell me absolutely anything. It doesn't matter what it is. I will talk to you about even the taboo subjects that I don't want to talk about, because I realized that if I didn't talk to them, somebody was going to.
Right.
And I wanted them to get it the way that I wanted them to get it, not from some other adult or child, you know, giving them a twisted version of you know, what I wanted them to learn.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that is the basis on which we need to teach our kids, and the second line of defense needs to be our schools, so that, you know, we can stop some of this stuff, because it's not just human trafficking, it's, you know, domestic violence, sexual assault, bullying. All of that is all based on social emotional growth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's really a sad reality, and I got to tell you that I've listened to your story, and I've listened to you talk, and you are a true blessing, young lady. You have overcame so much stuff, and you have touched so many lives already, and I know you're going to touch more. And you know, you're an inspiration to a lot of people, and I know you are to me. And you know, I just thank you so much for coming on with me today and talking and telling everybody your story and what you went through. Because this is such a scary subject that nobody ever wants to talk about, and, you know, I'm just really so thankful for you.
Thank you, and I thank you for doing this as well, because education also will help stop a lot of kids, and that's why I used to go into schools as well, and talk about the ugly that parents don't want to talk to their kids about. But we'll sign a piece of paper to have me come in to the schools during an assembly and talk about it. And and that's what you're doing right now is talking about the ugly. We'd like to think the world is perfect for our children, but the reality is it's not. So we have to prepare them for both the perfect, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the horrible in the world.
Well, I mean, the thing is if we don't talk to them about the ugly, believe me, the ugly's going to find them.
Yes, it will.
You know, if we talk about the monsters under the bed and the monster in the closet, the monster that we're looking at is right in front of their face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're hiding as neighbors and friends and kids from other schools that come and lure you in. You know, the ugly's right there, you know, and we have to prepare our kids to be able to be strong enough to deal with that.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it. God bless you for real, and I thank you so much for helping me with this today.
Not a problem. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for everybody for joining us today. That's going to be the end of our podcast, and so until next week, be safe, God bless, and good night.